that when a blessing is given, if you don't take and appreciate it, if you aren't thankful for what's there, you will allow it to get stolen. And sometimes it's a mate that you throw away. Sometimes it's a child that gets thrown away. But then, remember, children are a blessing from your Father. And they can be thrown away. Sometimes it can be things that you don't acknowledge right off. Like it doesn't come across as something that is an actual blessing. How many would like to have to tent outside for the winter?
No.
No?
But there are people that are.
There are people that are. They live in a tent without any services for the winter.
We tabernacle, Jesus tabernacles, we can have shelter for winter.
But you see, if you don't acknowledge that having a home to come to, then we're not putting protection on it. We can put a blood shield up, and if we're not thankful that it's there, Satan can kick us out of it. He can remove us from where we are. And, you know, when we've been given things for anointings here, we've had people that have special talents, and we see them being wasted away because they're not thankful that they have them. And that's a sad thing to see. Growth is withered away into decay. And how much you think, well, I don't have to review it because it's there on YouTube. I can do it whenever. Go back and finding out what squandering is. Not taking hold of the moment that God has given you. Not moving in that thankfulness is part of squandering. And we live in a world that is squandering its last days. Its very last days are being squandered. And you ever ask why?
We're not thankful or appreciative.
Well, they're not thankful, but there's more than that. You see, they don't acknowledge the laws of God as love. They don't acknowledge our Father as a God of love. He is love. Love is God. And then they wonder why they're not strong, or why this is happening or that's happening. But you see, if you're not in the love, you're not of God. So you're squandering your very identity to become part of the rat race. To be a failure. Questing after failure after failure after failure, and sabotage after sabotage after sabotage, because we have not accepted our Father as love. You know, that's pretty serious. People are living in poverty over that. In the most prosperous nations on earth, we have people in abject poverty that don't have a house, no home to come to. Nobody wants them, because it doesn't matter who they are, they all have a talent. God has blessed them with something that can be used to be beneficial to the whole of society. And Satan has been allowed to steal and steal and steal and steal. Muscular dystrophy is like that. You know, what it is that a person because either an injury when they were young or whatever, but they have a hatred for their body and pain. And when you start hating things, things get taken away from you. It's an open door for removing your health. When you hate your neighbor and you're in unforgiveness to them, hate somebody in your family and you're in unforgiveness to them, well, what do we have showing up? Allergies, multiple sclerosis. There's another one, I can't think of the name right now, where every nerve in their body gets inflamed when they're... It's not MS, it's...
It's
not
Fibromyalgia.
Geralds, is it?
not
Fibromyalgia.
Yeah, one of
Fibromyalgia.
these intercessors.
Yeah, which is one that affects a lot of intercessors get affected with fibromyalgia.
And that's passed down, that's a generational curse too.
It can be passed as a generational curse. But unforgiveness can have a major, major effect in the lives of people. But it's squandering what you've been given. Not thankful. And what you do is you turn what was to be a blessing into a curse that brings pain and suffering into your life until Satan's got you worn down enough and stolen enough of your life energy that you can't rebound. You're stuck, you can't rebound. And that happens all over the place. In every area. How many here have the same youth and vigor they had when they were 16, 17, 18 years old?
We do.
I think Jerry does.
Elise was throwing me kisses to show that she had it all controlled. Well, you see, if we don't appreciate one another, we're squandering. We're squandering both that person, but we're squandering what we could have given unto them also. Because what you sow, you reap. So if you're not sowing good into other people's lives, you're squandering the good that was for your life. And that's why we have to realize that when we're called to be ready to go to war, when we're called to be alert into the Word, it doesn't mean that, oh, well, it's posted, I can look it up when I need it. How many of you look it up when you need it? It's too late. You're under such attack, you can't concentrate on what's there. You know? You can't. But there's stuff right now posted that is a key to life.
One of them is the positive attitude video, right? It's the one.
Yes, positive attitude. The more you can be in that, and it's a choice you make, but the more you can learn, like that's the key Bible study teaching on the positive attitude. Everything else will fall through if you can get the understanding from that one. So, we can worship unthankfulness. We can worship our pain. We can worship our losses. But you know, the more losses you worship, the more you get. The more complaints you have, the more complaints you'll get. What are you sowing? Good times or bad times? And I think this is part of a key thing about making a castle that is defendable. It's not defendable in your strength of ability to complain or the amount of pain you've suffered. A castle becomes defendable by the amount of word you're thankful for having, the things that you're thankful for in your life. You know, it's where is it that you want to put your emphasis? You could be like Norm and want to go bareback horse riding this evening. I mean, he's only 86, but he likes to do bareback horse riding. Especially at night when nobody can see him.
Lady Godiva style.
Oh, Lady Godiva style. Ooh. Better not have that block party in the YouTube.
His even bigger were restored. You were spraying scripture over yourself again, weren't you, Norm? I can tell.
Things were restored, were they? Well, all that we have can be defended in our thankfulness and in Jesus. You take your eyes off Jesus and the thankfulness that should be there, and you let Satan steal your time, steal your life energy, steal your rest and your enjoyment of it. It's up to you. I can't make that choice for you. No, your person sitting next to you can't make that choice for you. You have to get up in the morning and make that choice. You gonna be thankful? Or are you gonna be sad? So, any questions here?
Get up and say in the morning, this is the day that Jesus has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. It sets it off.
Well, it sets a lot of things off.
The right,
But there's other things, you see, that can become a cliche that means nothing to you.
but you can also mean it every time you say it.
You could, but it will get to a routine. So if you alter that, let's say you have 30 for the month, and each day you have something of that need, 30 different things that you,
Want to do?
then you're in a rotation where you don't get stuck. Because if you want to move thankfulness into unthankfulness, you move in cliches.
What, go back to the 30. I don't understand what you're saying.
30 days.
How many days are in a month average?
30 or 31?
30 to 31. So if you have a new one for each day of the month,
Oh, a new scripture you mean?
new scripture or a new thing that is the positive and encouragement of rejoicing and celebrating, what's it going to do? Make you bored with them?
No, and that's why
Because it doesn't come often enough. But if you repeat it the same thing every day for 30 days, what do? You move into unthankfulness over in things because your heart can't join in it.
That's why we have scriptures on the prayer call.
And it says, don't do vain repetition.
Learn by rote.
Okay? Vain repetition. You can take a scripture and turn it into a vain repetition because your heart can't join in it. Your heart wants to grow. Your heart wants to experience excitement and new things. So if you limit yourself to one scripture of rejoicing, what are you going to have?
Role playing.
Role playing, yeah. Land of cliches,
Vain repetitions.
vain repetitions, and unthankfulness.
Is that why a person sometimes prays in Old English,
What do you mean?
using the English from King James?
King James English, and they,
Dies and these and
yeah, that's very prone to bring you into the state of unthankfulness because it's not part of your heart.
Right.
You don't speak that.
No.
So you don't receive it into your heart. You know, people that read out the old King James and they read these scriptures and they go, well, it's not talking to me. Because it's not the language of their heart.
They could change it to be the language of their heart.
They could get a more modern edition that speaks English, the current English, Canadiana.
So when they pray in Old English all the time, is that a form of religiosity too?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
definitely. But remember, they're using that as a cliche item, or even a spell that they're casting, not in a thankfulness from their heart. To have that. Okay?
Which is why meditation is so important, because you see a new aspect of some verse every time you meditate on it.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I was watching I was watching one of the Psalms, and they said, those who look to him are radiant, not just happy, not just content with what you have, but radiant.
Radiant, yes.
And you mentioned about rest.
Well, that's, you see, you're radiant when you have a glad heart. And you won't have a glad heart unless you speak into it over a period of time, so it can be glad. And thankfulness brings gladness. And gladness brings health.